Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN. Brian Winnekins from World Dairy Expo, and thank you to our expo sponsors, including AMPI, Animal Wellness Center of Buffalo Valley, Elsivia Co-op, Bauer Seeds and Service, BioVet, Farm First Dairy Cooperative, Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, and Compeer Financial. And joining us right now, Jim Mulhern. He's the CEO and head of National Milk Producers Federation. Well, soon he's going to be leaving, but he's still got some time yet. And there's a lot of stuff going on, so we're going to talk with Jim about some of that. And Jim, thanks for joining us. Well, I guess first, the 8 million pound gorilla here at World Dairy Expo is the Federal Milk Market Order.
Yeah, it's the big one, isn't it? Going on now in our 6th week of hearings, going on in just outside of Indianapolis, Indiana. I got to say, Brian, it's going as well or better than I thought it might. You know, we put a lot of effort at National Milk Producers Federation into putting together a comprehensive proposal looking at all the issues in the federal order program with an eye toward modernizing the program. Hasn't been changed since 2000, so we're 23 years on now from the last significant updates to the program. It needs some refreshing, and we're looking at a big focus on the pricing formulas themselves within that system. That's the heart and soul of the hearing, and I'm really happy with how it's going so far.
What are some of the things you're like? Is it because USDA is like, we're receptive, or is it because there's a lot of groups that are saying, hey, we kind of like this?
Well, you don't have any idea what USDA thinks until the end. They keep their cards very close to the chest. But what I'm pleased about is we worked hard to put together a comprehensive proposal, looked at all the issues that could be addressed or needed to be addressed, and then worked to get the producer community across the country reflected in our membership in National Milk Producers Federation. We worked to get them together, develop a consensus. Nobody's going to get everything they want. Everybody is going to benefit from this comprehensive proposal, and that was the key. We put that forward to USDA. They took all 5 of the issues that we had proposed. They're taking them to the hearing, and that's what we're getting testimony on. And we're getting strong support from our membership and from other organizations supporting the positions we're advocating. We're getting opposition, not surprisingly. We're getting opposition from some in the processing community. Because at the end of the day, keep in mind that this comes down to dollars and cents. And for dairy farmers and cooperatives, we've got a product. We're selling it. And we're trying to maximize the value of that product. From the other side, the opposition to our proposal, much of it is coming from the proprietary processors. They're buyers. They want to buy low, and then they want to sell high. There's going to be a natural conflict in there. So we've come up with a balanced approach to all of these issues, and that's what we've advocated and offered at the hearing. The testimony we've been getting from farmers, from co-op leaders across the country, and from a number of outside expert witnesses, experts in the dairy industry, are making a very strong case for the comprehensive proposal. Each one of the proposals, we've heard 4 of them so far. The 5th one was the Class 1 price differentials, and those haven't been changed since 2000, so they need to be updated as well. That's the last major issue to be addressed.
Talking with Jim Mulhern, he's president and CEO of National Milk Producers Federation. I know with the Federal Milk Market Order, and I understand that it's needed. It's hard to change, and there's proposals to change it. But was there any thought by anybody saying, this thing was made in the 30s. We've been adding amendments and changes and all of that. How about we just throw this thing out, because I don't know of anyone that actually can explain how it works, even at USDA. I mean, if there's one person out there that can actually explain how it works, that they're a genius. Was there ever any thought of that, saying, let's just start over? It's 1930, or in the 30s, it made sense. Now, it doesn't make sense.
Well, 2 things there. One, just to pick up on your comment on understanding it. Yes, it's a complicated system and program, but complication is not a reason to get rid of something. There are a lot of people who understand the system, and those are the experts we've had testifying to support our proposals. At the end of the day, the federal order program is very important to dairy producers. And this is a producer program. This is not a processor program. It's a dairy producer program, and that's why producers are the ones who vote on it. It's a program designed to enhance price discovery, get a good sense of what your milk is worth going into the various products. That's why we have 4 classes of milk, Class 1 being the fluid product. Class 1 is the only category really that's the price is regulated. 2, 3, and 4 are much more determined. 2 somewhat regulated, but 3 and 4 are market determined prices. The federal order system helps that price discovery of what is the value of that milk going into Class 3 and Class 4 by doing the mandatory National Dairy Product Sales Report, and then it does regulate the Class 1 price. So to your question of do we get rid of it, there are a lot of processors who want to get rid of it. They've been advocating that for 25 years. Nothing new. In fact, a lot of the battles in the past have been the proprietary processors' membership in the International Dairy Foods Association wanting to get rid of the program. The producer community is the ones who have been advocating and holding on and really believe the importance of this program. Now, the fact that it was set up in the 1930s, we've tried to keep adjusting it as we go forward, and that's what this effort is all about, modernizing the program, making it work for today's dairy industry. Does every provision of the federal order program need to be in existence today? Perhaps not, but you can't even have that intelligent discussion about what should future milk pricing and milk discovery and milk regulation, what should it look like, until you get the current program working as it needs to today. So that's what we're doing. We're modernizing the program to today, to 21st century standards, and then that discussion of what should the future be, you can have a more rational discussion and figure out, going forward, as all the industry changes, do we need this level of regulatory program or not? That's yet to be determined, but you can't do that until you get the current program working the way it needs to.
Is there a concern of unintended consequences? I'll just bring up the Class 1 price differential and negative PPDs from the Farm Bill.
Well, actually, what we're trying to do here is to address some of the issues with negative PPDs. Depooling is actually a big issue that happens when you don't have a system that keeps milk in the pool. So you don't depool when the Class 1 market is valuable enough to keep that milk in the pool, because pooling is a Class 1 function. Depooling means you've taken the milk out of the Class 1 pool, and it may be because Class 3 or Class 4, the two manufacturing classes, that they are worth more than the Class 1 market. So if you're not going to draw any money out of the Class 1 market, that's when you depool. That was a problem in the pandemic. We saw that in 2020 and 2021. We've still seen a little bit of that disorder because of the way Class 3 and Class 4 have diverged in their relationship. They're much farther apart than they used to be. So you can have addressing some of the things we've done in our proposal will reduce some of that depooling, and adjusting the Class 1 differentials, which haven't been changed now in 23 years, that will actually help, because it'll mean the Class 1 pools have more value.
Talking with Jim Mulhern, he's the CEO of the National Milk Producers Federation here at World Dairy Expo. The other 800-pound gorilla in the room, labeling, dairy labeling. And Jim, I've talked with Baldwin about this for many years, because she's been kind of one of the leading folks. I've talked with dairy farmers about this. As just an average person who's reporting on this, I'm incredibly frustrated when it's like we have to pass a law to enforce a law, which makes absolutely zero sense. And then, okay, well, we got this FDA, they're going to look into it, blah, 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 blah. But now we have to have a study. When do you think DC, the people, because they are in charge of FDA, are going to say, we're done? Just either you're enforcing your rules, or guess what? We're cutting you off with money. We're cutting off your money until you start enforcing the rules.
Well, if you're frustrated, Ryan, and I know the producer community is frustrated, imagine how frustrated I am. We've taken this fight to the Congress and to the Food and Drug Administration, and I told the Food and Drug Administration officials 6-7 years ago, when we decided we were not going to give up on this issue, we're going to fight until we got it done. I told them we're not giving up. We're going to be relentless in this, and we have been. FDA, at this point, I do not see the U.S. Food and Drug Administration having the willingness to take on and do what's right, to enforce the existing standards of identity. So I do think it's going to take Congress to act. I met just last week with Senator Baldwin, who you mentioned. Senator Baldwin is the author of the Dairy Pride Act, which would force FDA to enforce these existing standards of identity on milk and dairy products. And that was the message I delivered to Senator Baldwin. I think we're going to have the Congress act here. She has been trying, and many of our friends in Congress have been trying to get FDA to do the right thing, and the agency has just been resistant to it. Their concern, I think, is the lawyers in FDA are concerned about litigation. Bring it on. What those companies that are using dairy terminology on their products, what they're doing is wrong, and they're hiding under the halo, of the nutritional halo of milk and dairy products, when they don't match the nutrition that these products have. And that's the consumer confusion. It's not that somebody goes into the store, buys something that's labeled as soy milk or oat milk, thinks that there is cow's milk in that. They know that, but what they are confused about is the nutritional quality. They actually think that those products are healthier and have better nutrition than milk does. That's the issue, and that's why the confusion is there. So we're going to keep pushing. I'm hopeful the Congress will engage this year, and I'm hopeful we can get the Dairy Pride Act passed.
I guess, Jim, you mentioned the lawyers. You said bring it on. Okay, I'm going to take it a different way. The dairy industry goes to the FTC, says do something about it. Federal Trade Commission, truth in advertising, truth in that. Go after them. They don't want to do anything, then file a lawsuit. I mean, at some point, don't we have to say, look, this is baloney? And the reason I'm as passionate about it is us in the radio industry have the same issue with the FCC, where there are certain rules regarding AM radio. You can't, all of the interference you hear is illegal, and they don't do anything about it. So is it just going to take, we're going to have to just go to court?
Well, there's no track record of the FTC taking enforcement action in this space. So I don't think that's a viable proposition. With the Food and Drug Administration, there is a possibility there of suing the Food and Drug Administration for enforcement. There's a clause in law, writ of mandamus, that might be able to be applied here if we don't get FDA to act. The reality is, you look at the companies who are in this marketplace of fake dairy products, there's some really deep pockets. So if we get into a legal skirmish, you never know what the outcome is going to be. And there's going to be, but we do know that all of the multinational companies that have products in that space are going to be lawyered up to fight this. We've made the determination that the courts are probably, and the courts themselves have been a little squirrely on this issue, depending on the judge and the venue where the case is heard. So the legal route has not, to us, been viewed as a likely winning proposition, be at great expense. And then the last issue there is one of the challenges you're going to have is standing. It would almost take a manufacturer. So as an association, we probably don't have standing, and there is a lot of case law on this, to bring a suit. So lots of reasons why we're trying to get this done through the policy process. What we need is Congress to take action.
Talking with Jim Mulhern with National Milk. Well, finally, Jim, very soon you're going to head off into the sunset.
I am. It's been a great career, Brian, and I will look back. For me, it's been a 40-year career in and around dairy policy, starting out here in Wisconsin. Graduate of the Ag Journalism program at UW-Madison, went to work for a dairy co-op here in Wisconsin before I went out to Washington to work first on Capitol Hill, and then worked with the National Milk Producers Federation in the mid-'80s, going back to the '85 Farm Bill, which was one of the major turning points in U.S. dairy policy. The last 10 years for me as the leader of National Milk Producers Federation has been a capstone for me to a career that I never thought I would be able to have. I've been in the middle of every major dairy policy debate and battle over these last 30, 40 years, and a lot of successes. Haven't won everything we fought, but I will look back and say I fought the good fight on every issue that I could. And again, didn't win everything, but I am really pleased with the successes we've had, the gains we've made, and the biggest tribute for me goes to an incredible staff at the National Milk Producers Federation, a dedicated team of professionals, many of them with dairy farm backgrounds themselves, just work hard day in and day out, working because they passionately believe in the producer community and our cause. And then membership. When I came into National Milk 10 years ago, one of the things I said was, I've been here before. I've been here when the industry wasn't together. I'm not interested in doing that again. If we can be united, if we can come together, work out our differences internally, we can be a force on Capitol Hill and with the federal agencies. And what I'm most pleased about is we've demonstrated that. We've come together, the membership has worked through differences, and the federal order hearing that we started this conversation with is a big indicator of that, where we've worked together to get an approach that we could advocate. And I feel very good with that individual item where we're at in that process. But the big picture, a lot of success because this industry has worked together. And I think that's the challenge for the future. Figure out ways as a producer community, as in every industry, to put aside whatever differences we have. We got enough enemies and detractors outside of our industry. We need to hunker down, keep working together, and we can get things done.
That is National Milk Producers CEO Jim Mulhern. We are at World Dairy Expo. For WRDN, I'm Brian Winnikins.